So we were just talking about like what is the role, and the sort of technical title, if I were to have a business card with a title, it would say product manager on it. But actually, if I were to describe what I do, it's like, we have our 4 main products. And I'm looking at these products and trying to find ways that the user experience could be better, or ways that the features could change, or the product could be easier to use, or more clear, or something like that. And then it's not only the user experience, it's also the fact that I have some understanding of how the programming underneath the user experience is working, and I work closely with the programmers that we have. So it's kind of a mixed role of being responsible for kind of editing, curating how things are looking and how things are going, also doing some design myself, and working with the programmers and the teams to put new features together or to make changes happen and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what do you think, is the one special ingredient that works for you, that works for that the 37 Signals are, well-known company? I think that it's pretty successful. We know about it even here in the Czech Republic. Yeah. So what do you think is the special ingredient?
Yeah, it was interesting to speak at this Web Expo the day before yesterday, and to be here in the Czech Republic and have people, when I sat down, a couple people were like, "Hey, Ryan," and I'm like, "Wow, it was a little bit strange even." But I think actually the reason that people know about us is because as a company we really have values. Like we have things that we care about, that we really put our focus on. So we really care about our products being clear. We really care about our products being simple. We also care a lot about our company. Like we don't want to have we want to enjoy our work. Yeah, and we want to feel good about the work that we're doing. We want it to be quality, and
this spreads,
yeah,
just by itself.
And I think that the fact that we kind of say that these things are important and that we try to find ways to make them happen, is basically it's not so common actually that you hear companies that have opinions that say we like this and we don't like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that this is a very different approach to doing web-based products or projects. Do you think it is applicable also for client work, for doing stuff for clients and especially enterprises?
Absolutely. I mean, so if we look at the history of 37 Signals, when I came I joined the company in 2003, and the company was founded in 1999. From 99 until 2003, it was a web design consultancy. We didn't have any products yet. We hadn't built out any applications as a company. And what I heard from Jason when he first was doing, Jason Fried, right? When he was first doing consulting as 37 Signals with a few other guys, they did everything that everybody else did, right? They would write the specification, and then they would do a diagram showing the whole information architecture, and they would make all these documents and then give them to the client, and then there would be this papers going back and forth, right? And then eventually they would sit down and start to actually make the design. And what they were noticing is that when they started to make the design, that all the stuff that they did before didn't matter. That they would get so many new ideas as soon as they started, and then they would try something and they would be like, "Oh, if we did that, it makes me think about doing this instead." And it goes in some different direction that is different from the plan, but is a better end result. So what Jason started to do is he kept leaving out steps of the process.
But you accidentally left also the clients, because
that was kind of the natural endpoint. Yeah. So by the end of our time with clients, we were doing almost no paperwork at all. We were just delivering work to them. And this kind of set the tone for when we started doing our own products. When we started doing our products, we weren't really interested in doing a lot of diagrams and stuff like that. We just wanted to get in there and really do the work. And then also, when I started first doing UI for our products, David came on board and he put Rails together for BaseCamp. And on the first couple days of working together, I had some HTML files, and Jason had some HTML files, and David was the programmer, right? So he was the programmer. I didn't know how it worked, so I would give him the HTML, and then he would connect the HTML, and then it would run.
I think this is a good example because I think BaseCamp is the most well-known product in here in Czech Republic. Could you give some example, especially what you brought to this product?
Yeah,
how it works,
sure.
How we changed something that we know from our everyday life.
Yeah, well, a great deal of the interface was collaboration, but I think the thing that really happened with BaseCamp that started to change things was that I told David, like, this is kind of stupid that I have to give you this file and you have to convert it. He's the programmer. He knows all these like complicated things about databases and stuff like that. He shouldn't be wasting his time just converting HTML into a template. And I'm a designer, and I should have control over that, over the template, over what the customers see. So right away, actually, it changed. Where he taught me how to run the application on my own computer, and I started making the changes directly. And this was a really big change in how we work at 37, because from that point on, it wasn't okay to have a designer over here and a programmer over here, and then have some translation. From then on, they were always together, working on the exact same source code together. And now we're up to a few designers now at 37, and we all work this way. And for us, it gets way better results. I mean, I think it's a reason that we get to have better results, actually.
And where do you take your inspiration from? How do you come up with new ideas to put inside a product?
I don't think of it in terms of new ideas. I always think about it in terms of pain points. Like, we're using the product and there's always things that we're not happy with. Or maybe we think everything is okay and then we get an email from our customers and our customers tell us that they're not happy with something, right? And you maybe hear this one thing from one customer and one thing from another customer, but then if you hear the same thing over and over again, then maybe there's something to it, yeah? So for us, it's really about, we have this whole system already there, but there's something that we find that's not right. And then it's all about, like, well, what can we do to fix that, yeah? And I feel like it's not even, the idea, it has to do with looking at the whole system and then seeing what are the things that are coming together that are causing the friction, and then really looking at what those things are until we can get rid of that somehow.
So you mentioned that the one way that your customers give you feedback is over emails, but that was kind of part of my talk. That I was trying to say, always the louder customers are not maybe the optimal ones. Maybe you are coping with only some special people that have one problem.
Yeah.
Do you gather feedback in other ways? Do you use web analytics or other user research tools?
Not so much, but I will say that the feedback that we get from our customers is, it's not like the feedback comes in and then just because the customers want something, we have to do it. There's still it's one of many different inputs. So like one input is customer emails. Another input, recently we went and we visited some customers and we did some site visits, right? Where we went to their office and we sat with them and we looked at their computer together and watched exactly how they use it for real. And that taught us a lot, because these people, we had a recruiting firm that found them, right? They didn't email us. So it was much more realistic. And then also we're using our own apps all the time. And we're looking for things that we don't like. So these are all different places where the ideas come from, but one isn't special, right? Like if the customer idea comes in, we have to think about it and we have to want to feel like we really understand what they're talking about. If we don't really understand and then think oh yeah, that when I think about that, I also really feel like that makes sense. Those things have to come together for us to make the change. If people are saying it but we don't understand, we're going to have to learn more until we can really feel it ourselves in our own experience, and then we can find a solution for it.
Cool. Yeah. Maybe also the public speaking and conferences may be our another way of getting feedback and maybe getting the product among the people.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how much of a connection there is between the speaking and our products. I think actually that the connection is more but between. So there's this great thing that we got from Kathy Sierra. Have you ever heard of Kathy Sierra? She had a blog called Creating Passionate Users. If you Google Creating Passionate Users, you'll find her blog. And she doesn't keep it anymore, but it's got some really good stuff on it about marketing and about like really good user experience. And one of the things that she talks about is instead of trying to outmarket your competition, you can out-teach your competition. That a really good way to market yourself is to actually share what you know. Just like how a really great chef writes a cookbook and gives away the recipe, because they know that the recipe isn't enough, right? You also have to have the experience to do it. So I think that a big reason, for example, that BaseCamp was able to be successful at the time that we released it is that we had a blog called Signal versus Noise that had a pretty big readership. And what we were doing on the blog is we were always talking about how we do design and how we think design should be done and what's important and what our values are. So this was like a way for people to find out about the company, and then it was a word of mouth channel. And I think the same thing happens with public speaking. On the one side, it's like it is some exposure for the company, but for me, I'm so much happier working the way that we work. Every day that we find a better way to work, it makes me happier and it makes our company happier. And then I have friends who do this stuff, and I tell the friends, hey, try this, right? We got this new...
This is the thing, maybe you are all the time you are one step ahead because still you are learning new things.
Yeah.
And to say to the people that you made something, that's always a history, because you have to move fast within this industry. It keeps changes.
Yeah, some things change and some things stay the same. And I'm really interested in actually the things that don't change, because the technology is always changing, right? Like it used to be that we were using Subversion, now we're using Git, right? And like Rails is new, but now it's like, it used to be that everybody was using MySQL, and now you go to conferences and people are talking about things like CouchDB and stuff, and who knows where that will go. But right now you have HTML5, blah, 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 blah. It's always changing. But the thing that's not changing is like human brains aren't really changing. The cognitive system, the perceptual system isn't really changing. So the application is it's the user interface, right? And it's the code. And the code and the user interface have to go together, but the user interface is interfacing into the human being, right? Which is not changing. And the code is going down into the software stack, which may be changing. So for me, in my position, since I'm not only a programmer, but I'm mostly focused on how the apps can be better, it's more about, well, what language communicates best? How can the features be explained well? How can we model them well so that people really understand them? And focusing on these things like how to be clear and how to communicate and how to keep things simple, how to manage a team, right? Like it's more about human beings than it is about technology. So I think it's really interesting to find where these things come together, right? The changing technology that allows us to work in a better way, and then the unchanging values about how basically human nature is and what people want and trying to satisfy that. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your ideas. I think it's time to end. Do you have any other special message to the Czech development community?
I would just say thank you for having me here, because it's Prague is beautiful. So it's nice to have an excuse.
Thank you for coming here and for making this interview possible.
Yeah, thank you.